Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today is a very special day. It's the Trans Memorial Day, Remembrance in Canada, and basically I'm going to attend there, and it's going to be 3 hours long, so I'm going to make a video on that today. It's to commemorate all the trans members who lost their lives or who gave their lives fighting for the cause of being transgender like I am. So please join me, and if you're interested in transgenders, please have a look at my videos on trans earlier, and hope you all enjoy the video.
You're right, but 200 is at capacity right now, so we're having it over here. I know, it's a reunion. Yes, like that. Perfect. What if you want to? Oh, okay.
Mobility devices. We have space reserved at the front for people in mobility devices, so if anybody would like to occupy that space, that would be good. And maybe during this time I think we could fit a few people onto the row right behind them too, so this would be your chance if you want to grab a seat in the front. Anybody else? Okay, wonderful. So, moving on. Okay, so I mentioned that we have some extra cameras in the space for a special guest, and I would like to welcome her to the stage in a moment. She's a community member near and dear to our hearts. Mocha will be joining us briefly to touch on the dangers she faced as a Black and Indigenous woman in the sex industry and how defending herself landed her in prison for the past 4 years, leaving her to advocate and break down stigma for trans rights in the provincial correctional system. I have a lot of admiration for this woman. Please, let's give a big welcome to Mocha Dawkins.
What's going on, everybody? Did she give you an entrance? Did she give you a little bit of life? She couldn't do too much moves because she's in the outfit, you know? So she couldn't do too much.
Oh, destroyed in that fire, leaving me here, alone, cold, tired. My broken body lay on the concrete, lacking the fine jewels and blood-stained silk that I once wore. What a shame. It doesn't feel good at all, but it feels like freedom. So I hope you understand that I don't want to live, but I also don't want to die. So I call out into the distance, but I know there is no one waiting outside of the prison they made for me. I am trapped in an abandoned city made from ashes and glass. Long ago, the path that might have led me to a healthier life was destroyed, leaving me alone with nowhere to go for true freedom. I could sing of being liberated from my pain, but that is simply just asking to die. Death. Something I will always make excuses to avoid, and yet something I truly desire at the same time. But I am me. I am me who stands here knowing that everyone who can see who I really am, but chooses to look away from this reality. So, why do you apologize for the ruins that someone else caused? Are you guilty for the fallen cities and the many sufferings I went through? The majesty who I was supposed to be and the place I was raised in has been demolished, leaving a ghost of potential of what it was meant to be. Except nothing was ever written in stone. So here I am. I am here now. My body drips with ink and blood as I write these words with my right finger. I want my story to matter. I want to be able to show the world that maybe someone like me can exist. Pathetic, weak, fragile, and yet somewhat meaningful. Like an old painting, worn over and faded, but still valuable to those in power. My broken mind spins and the fragments in the mirror sparkle and glisten, no longer being able to fulfill their original role, yet still brilliant, shining in the moonlight.
Well, let's move on to the last So I want to know that I'm recording, performing from Toronto for the past 10 years, and we share our original piece with us titled, please welcome Ron Duncan. I'm sorry, I don't know how to name. Grace Duncan.
profession. Their performance tonight is an homage to their uncle, whose ballet career was cut short by HIV/AIDS complication, and whose life has been turned by Blue Wild Ride's family into a queer-phobic cautionary tale. Please welcome Blue Wild Ride to the stage.
Between us, nobody else would believe if we're told. The stars align, if the water make wine, broken souls become whole. You know it's right, so let your eyes and let me in. Baby, I'm an angel like you. Over, get tired, realize the reason why you do me then. Maybe I'm an angel too. Over, let me be, baby, I'm with you. I know that believing is hard with a feeling. There must be millions of billions of light years away, so that the heavens square. And let's not be scared, 'cause we know love's more of the ball than this one. It's like the sun, so let your eyes and let me in. Baby, I'm an angel like you. Never get tired, realize the reason why you do me then. Baby, I'm an angel too. Because we both spent a week together. Yeah, it was so great. Can't let anybody know. No, I can't let anybody know. So baby, I'm an angel like you. Reason
Let's give a warm welcome for Carolina Brown.
So much, everybody. I want to say a lot of things, but I only have about 5 minutes, so I'm only going to say 2. And the first one is that they say that every time a person gets a new vulva, an angel in heaven earns their penis. I don't want to send money to heaven on February 2020, so I'm pretty excited about that. For those of you going up in heaven, just say hello to me. I will miss it. And the second thing is that, I think about how like in 100 years, none of us are going to be here. It's a fact of life. One day we're all going to fall, like the leaves from a tree. That's the cycle of life. But at the same time, while we're here, we're meant to shine, So use your time wisely. Say, I'm sorry more frequently. Say, I love you more frequently. Say, thank you more frequently. And tonight, I want to say, I'm sorry to Ivana for pushing you away. And I want to say, thank you for taking me off the street 4 years ago and for giving me a key to your home. I still got the key. Probably changed the lock already, but I still got the key. I want to say I love you too. I love you. So hopefully you're
I would just like to acknowledge one more thing. I want to acknowledge everything that went into making this evening possible. This includes financing staff, volunteers, performing artists, and speakers. Let's give a collective round of applause for everyone who's been involved. I want to thank again for the archives for providing us with the material for our timeline downstairs. I want to also acknowledge the UOP Art Museum for lending us the photos of Samaya that you see in the stairway. Also, we have to give massive props to Rogelio, who painted a series of portraits that you will also see as you descend the stairs. Please get in touch with Rogelio if you want your portrait painted. And last but not least, I need to give a big thank you to the Trans Day Remembrance Community Committee. So for the past 2 months, we have been meeting every week. We've been going to the archives, we've been planning this evening, going through applications, and really just trying our best to cover all our bases, and in doing so, kind of creating our own little community. So I would like everybody here to please give a big round of applause to the Trans Day Remembrance Community Committee. There's a few things. One thing I would like to say is please allow the first rows to exit first for accessibility purposes.
the open mic session. We promised we're going to cap this at no longer than 20 or 30 minutes. So if you want to light it now, we'll have a moment of silence at the end. But this is the time where we invite people to come up on stage and to share your fond memories of someone who has passed, your hopes for the trans community, your frustrations, all of that. I know for me personally, this day, I use this day to remember Riley Corchet. She was one of the first trans girls I met when I moved back to Toronto, when I started transitioning, along with Saharla. I remember we go to Pegasus, we go out to dinner, and for me it was devastating when Riley passed away. It was my first real exposure to like the violence that like trans people face and how it affects us directly. So for me this night, I'm always thinking about Riley, and yeah, I don't know. So do you want to say a few words about someone?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really important that we remember each other, that are consistently still here and fighting and consistently going through it every day. So I applaud all of you guys for coming out and, you know, being strong and wearing your shoulders on your sleeves and being who you really are. But Samaya was one of my close friends, obviously from the same background and stuff like that. So understanding each other culturally was a deep, deep, deep hurt to me. And obviously somebody that just recently at SOS, a lot of the sister girls who had that is that we passed out in the first year. And for her, you know, I've made it and we're going to continue to keep going. And thank you to all of you again.
Okay, thanks. So, I believe our first speaker is Susan Gapka. I'm sure y'all know her. And we asked if you would like to say a few words. If you could line up by the ramp at the back here, that will help us indicate, you know, an order. We'll check you in. We really encourage a few community members to come up and share a few words, but we would like you to line up by a ramp at the back here. So let me introduce to you Susan Gapka.
Trans Day of Remembrance 2019. The 20th memorial of trans and non-binary people brutally murdered across the globe. There is a reason why we commemorate Trans Day of Remembrance internationally. Now in its 20th anniversary, we are commemorating 3,314 murdered trans people. And whichever list we commemorate, accuracy aside, these staggering numbers of frequently brutal, violent killings are intended to let us remember, never forget, and to find some comfort in unity, solidarity, in mourning together as a community. I just want to take a moment to dedicate tonight for me, Carl Scanlon, who helped host the first TDOR at 519, one of the second one in Canada originally. And I just want to go over some numbers. You have a handout there. So this is for you, Kyle, wherever you are. There was a handout, and the numbers are staggering. 250 in North America, 148 in Europe, 282 in Asia. It says 9 in Oceania, and only 17 in Africa, which I think is underreported. But here's what stands out for me. In Central and South America, 2,608 murders between January 1st, 2008 and September 30th, 2019. 61% of those were sex workers. 1,252 were shot. 653 were stabbed. And 334 were beaten. And I just want you to think about that for a minute or two. We'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll turn the mic over to the next individual who wants to address the crowd. Brazil is, as I understand, is the most dangerous country. And I think last year it was 331. You know, that's a murder a day. Just think about that for a minute. And this would be a really good time to have a moment of silence, and then we'll look for the next person. I don't have a candle, so... So a moment of silence for all those we've lost, all those we mourn, to find strength in coming together, to celebrate our resiliency, and to know that we're not alone in the struggle.
Group every day, pay at Eglinton. It's a wonderful group, and I go there every day. Every day. Hey, and I try my best to be there for my friends. And I found a poem online that I loved and stuck with me, and I related to so much. So I wanted to share the poem with you. I've got this big old box filled with flowers, aren't they pretty? I'm walking around feeling witty. And I stumble upon you not having a good day. So I say, hey, just take one of my flowers. And you say thanks, and it brightens up your day. Hey, and you go on your way. Hey, and I've got one less flower, but that's okay, because I say that I'll be okay. Hey, just 7 pretty flowers all wrapped in a box. I wish they were limitless, but they're not. It's another day, another flower. Are you okay? Another flower out of harm's way. Are you okay? Another flower. 3, 2, 1 flowers, and I'm running oh so low, ho on the life that I once had. So, ho, I debate to give them flower, to give them the power to fight. Another day, another flower. And now, like a vase, I'm empty.
Thank you, Blair. Yeah, let's give her a round of applause. That takes a lot of courage. Oh, no, or anything. Does anyone else want to speak? I don't know if there's anyone lined. Oh, let's, Christy. Christy is a longtime community member at the 519. She volunteers with all the programs. Thanks, Christy.
Hi, that was really very speak tonight, and but it's been a long time since my friend Cassandra passed away in 2003, just around the corner here. She was murdered, strangled to death, and the murderer was never caught. I just want to tell you how much I miss her, and she was my best friend. And so thank you all for coming and showing your support for our community. And hopefully there'll be less suffering next year. Anyways, that's it.
Hi, my name is Thorne. I'm 18 years old, and I've only been living in Toronto for about a month now. I was originally from Mississauga, and this is the first Pride event I've ever been to. Woo! And it brings me so much joy knowing that if this is my last, there's so many people out there who, without even knowing my name, would light a candle in my honor. Thank you.
My name is Lana, and I'm a proud a mixed race woman of both indigenous and Celtic ancestry and Dutch as well. I'm bisexual and of the trans spectrum. I just would like to say that now every year on Trans Day of Remembrance, I think about my friend Veronica Diaz and I think about my friend Alora Wells. Both people whom have died and gone to the spirit world. And I also am spending this year's tea or thinking about how some people of the trans community are fighting with other people of the trans community, and some indigenous people are fighting with other people of the indigenous community, and some people of color are fighting with other people of color. And one example is those protests against the Trans Day of Remembrance flag raisings at Queen's Park and Toronto City Hall, and how I understand where those activists came from. But I just want more peace on earth, and I just want everyone to stop fighting with each other. Walalin, and that's thank you in Micmac.
Thank you, Lena.
Hi. Okay, hang on. At least 331 transgender people were violently killed this year. Someone took those 331 different lives from their family, friends, and loved ones. We've also lost many trans lives to suicide. The stats say that anywhere from 22% to 43% of trans people will attempt suicide in their lifetime. And we can't forget those who have succeeded. So we're here today to remember these people who are in the violent cases, disproportionately Black females and in the sex worker industry, and to also speak to the variety of hardships and challenges that trans people still face in everyday life. I am now nearly 3 years into my transition, and by genetic luck, I generally pass in public. But I still remember the times mid-transition where I was harassed or followed as some of the worst times of my life. It got to the point where I developed severe anxiety around leaving the house and couldn't even get myself onto public transit. This experience isn't unique to me. Statistics show that whether at school or in the workplace, harassment, violence, and discrimination against trans people is exceedingly common. It's no wonder that so many trans people live in poverty as they face challenges getting employed and even finding housing that accepts them. For every trans life that we remember, many are forgotten. Death certificates don't record gender identity, making it hard to determine the exact number of trans people we lose to suicide. But I know from first-hand experience that it's incredibly hard. Internalized transphobia is a real thing. Surrounded by a world that tells us we're freaks, that we don't belong, that we'll never be real, makes even accepting ourselves difficult. I used to browse websites and forums where people spouted anti-trans ideology, not because I believed it, but because I just had this deep disgust and I wanted to kind of harm myself by reading these comments. And I know that's not an uncommon experience. Not even taking the violence, discrimination, and alienation into account, self-acceptance is a massive roadblock for so many of us. I think dysphoria is another factor. And for me, it was the creeping sense of revulsion that came up every time I looked at my face. It's a sense of manliness that still follows me around when I look at my hands or my shoulders. It's deep, deep hatred of my voice and my height. And I think the cruel irony is that to alleviate that dysphoric pain, we have to subject ourselves to a violent, mocking, and callous world. So by luck again, I live in an incredibly liberal city, and I've had the support of friends and family throughout most of my journey. And without them, or facing more harassment or hardship, I don't know if I would have survived. So this day is to remember all those who didn't make it, who by cruel circumstance were taken out of this world by their own hand or another's. We need justice. It doesn't make sense that trans people are 3.7 times more likely to experience police violence compared to cisgender survivors and other victims of anti-LGBT violence. It doesn't make sense that nearly a fifth of trans people have been refused housing, and nearly half have faced adverse action at work, and there is still no legal protection for us in so many countries and states. It doesn't make sense that when we try to fight back and bring ourselves out of the margins, we're accused of wanting special treatment, when in reality we want to be treated the same as every other human being. But I'm preaching, I think, to the converted. Those who are here are aware of the enormous burdens that trans people must carry with them wherever they go. But we need more. We need to fight and to protest and to march in the streets until trans people are equal to everyone else in society. So some people think it's a choice to be trans, that it's a frivolous decision we make to be trendy. But who would rationally choose it? I'm proud to be trans, but I'd be lying if I said there weren't times when I wished I was anything but. I didn't want to deal with losing friends and family. I didn't want to deal with receiving worse treatment everywhere I went. I didn't want to deal with being the model citizen that represents every trans person to the ignorant. No one wants to fear for their lives when walking around. No one wants to be the butt of a million shitty, edgy jokes. No one wants to be trans if they can help it. But we can't. It's as much of a choice as our ethnicity or our sexual orientation. It's not a choice at all. Let me repeat it. I am proud to be trans, but I'm also scared to be trans. I'm scared to be part of a minority that faces violence and that needs events like this one to remember our brothers, sisters, and everyone in between that we've lost. We need to keep working, spreading awareness, and standing up against inequality and discrimination so that maybe someday we can create a world where no one needs to be afraid to accept themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to hear a few more speakers before heading up, and we're hoping to cap most of them at like 3 minutes, but I would like to invite our next speaker onto the stage.
I love you too! Thank you. I have to say thank you to everyone that's here, because this is my first time coming here, and it's amazing to see how many people were here for all the presentations we saw today, how many people are here with their candles for the vigil, and how many people are looking at me now and listening to me speak. Not many people like to listen to me speak, but that's a whole other thing. Thank you. I love my friends, if you hadn't noticed. They love me too, I think. So, I didn't really prepare for this, but I have a kind of short poem, I guess. I wrote it when I was in one of my darkest times, and I think it kind of shows a lot about the struggles I went through and the struggles that I hope most of you aren't going through, but I have to accept that a lot of you are, and I want you to know that I'm here for you, so here it goes, I guess. It hurts to see every part of me that comes to the surface to breathe, when every breath I take feels like a stab in my mind. Every part of me that hurts, every part of me that's scared, and every night when I go to sleep, I know that those thoughts wait for me. To set them free, to see, to believe that I am more than my past, and I am more than the stars, I am more than my scars, more than the hours I spent tying up loose ends of unkept promises. To all the friends I left behind, I keep bending and breaking, thinking I can mend myself back together again and again and again. And I found myself back at the start. Will there ever be an end? A goal, escape, an escape? Or will I just spend my days and nights waiting for someone to find me in the dark and say, the exit is that way, just keep playing, you'll make it. And I did. Right now, I'm so happy with who I am, and I'm so happy with the people I met and the people I love and the people who love me. And I really hope for any of you out there who felt the way I did, any of you out there who are struggling, I hope you too can love yourself. Thanks.
Okay, well, if there are no other speakers, there's a production, okay. So I think we're still on track to be able to cap this at half an hour. So in about 5 minutes, we would like to invite you back into the 519. I think they're just putting the finishing touches on the dining room. And thankfully, it's not too cold out. So I don't know.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Yeah, okay. So we have a very nice surprise for you. We have an original song. Go. We'll be quick. We still have it. I am. And I want to dedicate this song to all those people behind us, the ones that we remember today. Not too long ago, I received a beautiful French pot that came through a donation to me. And I asked where this pot came from, and it came from a trans woman named Samantha that earlier this year decided to check out. Samantha was very new to her transition, and she couldn't really find a community. She couldn't find a place where she felt safe, and she felt really, really lonely. And she did what she did because when you are a social creature, as a human being, being by yourself can drive you crazy. Because we are social creatures. We like to teach, we like to laugh, we like to just make lots of silly, fun jokes about each other, and just be social. But when you don't have that, and you turn into isolation as your only resource of being, it's no difficult to think why people do the thing they do, to not be in this world anymore. And we usually think that this world is not for us, that this world is not built for us. But I don't think it's about that. It's about what you bring to this world, how you decide to shine. How do you decide to either do the two things that we humans do over and over again? You either repeat or you evolve. And then, as history has told us, there is no justice in history. We keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. We don't see the real issue here is that they are trying to separate us. And when you look at the back in the emperors, the only way that they could rule was to divide and conquer. So the system has all these different beliefs, and wherever you're born, if you're rich or poor, if you're into this religion or that religion, you will be on that side until you finally wake up. And today, I went to the to the raising of the flag at City Hall, and it was pretty empty. And there were lots of people complaining, protesting, which is great. It's fantastic. We have to protest. It's the only way we can propel us forward. But from what I know, there is no real context for that protest to be so strong and to make us look divided and to make us look like we're not even together ourselves. So my message to you today is, how many versions of you are out there? Who is really making your choices? What are you really buying into? How about we just, instead of trying to find the world to fulfill us, we find that within ourselves. Find that light in yourself, that self-love. That's all you need. And when you have that self-love, you will shine and you will change the world. It's Who I Am, written by Karen Lee Wild, an incredible musician here in Ontario. This girl has been supporting us for a long time, and she wrote this beautiful song that I know you all are going to really, really love because it speaks from the heart. Karen? Thank you for being here today. This is a beautiful night. It's not so cold. Let's enjoy, let's inspire each other so we don't have to celebrate this anymore. Please don't ask of me to be the things I cannot be. I will not ask of you to do the things I do. And I will always try to be the best that I can be. I only want to see you smile. Please don't tell me what to be, 'cause I am already me. It's who I am. It's what I do. I would not ask to take away your life from you. It's in my heart, it's in my soul. It's what takes me from hand to home. Please don't tell me what to be, 'cause I am already me. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. And God keeps us all a gift. It's up to us to find it, and He will then refine it if you're willing. So please accept me as I am, as I accept of you. It's the only way to live in peace and harmony. Please don't tell me what to be, 'cause I am already me. I will not ask to take away your life from you. It's in my blood, it's in my soul. It's what takes me from half to whole. Please don't tell me what to be, 'cause I am already me. It's who I am, it's what I do. I will not ask to take away your life from you. It's in my heart, it's in my soul. It's what takes me from half to whole. Please don't tell me what to be, 'cause I am already me. It's who I am. Come on with me. It's who I am. 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 Thank you so much, Karen.
Give it up for Chica. Okay, now, at this point in the evening, let's take a brief moment of silence because dinner should be ready. So we'll take one more moment, take some deep breaths, remember those who we've lost, and we'll move on to the next portion. And with that, I would like to invite the drummers back on to wrap up the open mic portion.
Can you hear me now? Okay, with this particular song, we usually face all four directions with each verse that we go, but you'll see. If you want to follow along, then that would be great. If you don't have to. Yeah, we start with the east. We're not turning our backs on you.